Precious remedies against Satan's devices. A study done by Thomas Brooks, and we are at chapter 2, and chapter 2 is a 50 pages counting chapter, so I split it in 8 parts, 7 or 8 parts. Chapter 2 is titled Satan's Devices to Draw the Soul to Sin. So, now the second thing that I am to show you is his several devices, and herein I shall first show you the several devices that Satan hath to draw the soul to sin. And I shall instance in these 12 which may bespeak our most serious consideration. So there are 12 devices, so that's why I do it in several parts. I hope to get it done in 7 parts, but if it becomes 12, it becomes 12. Alright, device 1. To present the bait and hide the hook. To present the golden cup and hide the poison, to present the sweet, the pleasure and the profit that may flow in upon the soul by yielding to sin, and by hiding from the soul the wrath and misery that will certainly follow the committing of sin. By this device he took our first parents. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And this is funny because we are living at the moment in a time frame in which evil, darkness and wicked people are now doing their uttermost best to let humanity believe that God is no longer necessary anymore, that we do not have to wait for the second coming of Christ, because technology can replace mortal life into everlasting life. Well, technology, as we know, is not able to do this in any way, shape, or form, because look at your phones, tablets, computers, and laptops, and every other device. It always needs to be upgraded. If technology is not being upgraded constantly, it collapses. And through this lie, these evil, dark, and wicked persons in our world are also convincing and literally saying that we now can become our own God. So that we now can be God, that we now can become God himself. Well, that is absolutely nonsense, of course, and goes straight against everything that God stands for. And so this is actually unfolding at the moment for decades, and actually for several hundreds of years. This plan gets more and more form and is more and more unfolding, and we're now in the last stages to have this plan brought into completion. Your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, he says. Here is the bait, the sweet, the pleasure, the profit. And this is exactly what Satan is constantly doing on daily basis. Each and every moment, each one of us, no matter if you're a believer or a non-believer, it doesn't matter. Everyone is dealing with false baits from the enemy, and not just one time a day, each and every moment. But I, of course, have to say that the ones that have decided to come back to the Father, they experience this far more than those who didn't come back yet to the Father, because they are of lesser interest for the enemy than the ones who have come back to the Father, because they are for the enemy more a threat. A threat. So we who have decided to go along with the pull that we felt from the living God Himself, that was pulling us back to Him, because you always have this choice. You can go along with that pull or say, I'm not going with it. But all those who have felt this pull from the living God and creator of all life and of universes, we who have listened to it and have immersed ourselves, we have become of a great danger to the enemy. So that is why we have to bear a lot of I want to say attacks and firings coming from the enemy. So again, here is the bait, the sweet, the pleasure, and the profit. Oh, but he hides the hook, the shame, the wrath, and the loss that would certainly follow. There is an opening of the eyes of the mind to contemplation and joy, and there is an opening of the eyes of the body to shame and confusion. He promiseth them the former, but intends the latter. And he is, of course, Satan. And so Satan cheats on them and cheats them, giving them an apple in exchange for a paradise, as he deals by thousands nowadays. Exactly, because what the enemy is constantly doing is actually holding God's children a bait, and this bait is, here I have this diamond for you, and please take it, so that I can have more grip on your life and can steer your life into all directions except the one that you need to go. So Satan with ease puts fallacies upon us by his golden baits, and then he leads us and leaves us in a fool's paradise. And that's exactly what we are in. This world is a fool's paradise. Everything that we see around us, from restaurants to cinemas, theaters, the fact of going on vacation, shops, all these wannabes and wanna-haves and gadgets and every single thing, it's only there to keep our soul in distraction and derailment. And this is what Satan makes us believe, that if we go along with that, then we live life. But as a matter of fact, we are not living life at all, as is mentioned by the living God of all life and of universes, that we should live. So we are actually in a fool's paradise. This fool's paradise has a name, which is Babylon. He promises the soul, honor, pleasure, profit. Go to all these celebrities. They have been fooled by all the false promises and honors and profits and pleasures, but pays the soul with the greatest contempt, shame, and loss that can be. And the biggest price for, of course, Satan is that eventually you give up your soul to the enemy. And he does that, he contains with all his baits until the moment that he sees that he has got you. By a golden bait he labored to catch Christ. You can read this in Matthew 4, verse 8 and 9. He shows him the beauty and the bravery of a bewitching world. Because, people, this world is based on witchcraft. I know that the enemy is literally bombarding spells and curses in the air, and literally is placing bombs of spells and curses on the land, on each and every nation, every moment of the moment. Everything, the entire food industry, pharmakeia, clothing industry, all industries are run under witchcraft, sorcery, and you can say wizardry. So we need to wake up to this, that this whole world is run by witchcraft. And the technology is witchcraft. It is witchcraft. So wake up and start to see that the phone that you have with you, of which I see many people nowadays walking with that thing as if their life depends on it, as if it is their precious, like this, what is it, Goblin said in the Lord of the Rings movie, that he called his master precious, and his master was the ring, and the one behind the ring, that you can say that the trilogy of that movie series was all about presenting to God's children the real side of the enemy. But not many people have seen it as such. They thought, oh, what a nice movie, and oh, what a good special effects, and wow, look at all these costumes and blah, blah, blah. But as a matter of fact, through these movies, and also this counts for the Matrix series, these movie series have presented to God's children the real being known as Satan, or actually Lucifer. So again, he shows him the beauty and the bravery of a bewitching world, which doubtless would have taken many a carnal heart. But here the devil's fire fell upon wet tinder, and therefore took not. These tempting objects did not at all win upon his affections, nor dazzle his eyes. And I want to say here, it's being said that nor dazzle his eyes, but that is the whole point. Witchcraft is dazzling our eyes. And look at all these speakers on the world stage, no matter if it's governmental, politics, entertainment. the majority of them are very charismatic people, and they all have some type of principality attached to them that plays with their energies and mixes their energies with the energies of the principality, and this principality is able to create through a certain technique a type of energy. Better said, it plays a sort of overlay over the energy that radiates to other persons, that has a dazzling effect. And that is what witchcraft is. It dazzles our eyes, our soul, and brings us into fairyland, so to speak. And that is going on each and every moment of your life. The dazzling energy of witchcraft is keeping you in this false type of life, in this foolish paradise known as Babylon, that has this bling bling effect, this false dazzling glamour and glitter to attract your soul, to keep your soul imprisoned in Babylon through all the dazzling witchcraft that not only comes from the products presented to you, but even more so, from all the people that are bewitched, because your politicians are bewitched. The World Economic Forum is a organization of witches, wizards, warlords, warlocks, covens, and so on. And high priests, dark high priests, who know exactly how to play with the human race. And besides of that, this organization has also its own astrologers who tells them when to do the next move. And each and every president and dictator and prime minister has a team of personal, you can say, has a team of astrologers and workers of iniquities known as witches, wizards, covens, warlords, and warlocks, who constantly inform them on when to do the next move and how to present the plans of evil and darkness, which are the plans of Lucifer, and how to present his plans in such a way that people go for it. And they tell them how to create this special wrap around their political programs, speeches, and solutions, and so on, so that people constantly buy into it. Better said, the majority of the population of their country falls prey to it. This is how it works. To keep it to this country, the Netherlands, the political center is The Hague, yeah, and then the next political center is Amsterdam, and the political center that comes next to that one is Rotterdam. These places, these centers, that play, and especially The Hague, of course, because it's being said that it's the city of justice. Um, the Hague, the whole political seat there is under witchcraft, spells, sources, sorcery, curses, um, hexes, vexes, and whatever you can think of. All these people that work in the political body of this land, this country, so-called country, are under constant witchcraft and are run by high-level principalities. And this counts for each and every nation and country in the world. So it's about time that people wake up and stop voting and stop participating. And especially those who call themselves members of the body of Christ, who call themselves Christian, who call themselves believer. And thank you, Holy Spirit, for giving me all these words. So Satan shows him and thus us the beauty and the bravery of a bewitching world, which doubtless would have taken many a carnal heart. And this is also the way how he keeps us in this carnal heart. Because the only way that Satan can come to us is through the weakness of the flesh. But here the devil's fire fell upon wet tinder and therefore took not. These tempting objects did not at all win upon his affections nor dazzle his eyes, though many have eternally died of the wound of the eye and fallen forever by this vile strumpet, the world. Who, by laying forth her two fair breasts of profit and pleasure, have wounded their souls tremendously, and in such a way that many literally lost their souls and cast them down into utter perdition. She hath by the glistening of her pomp and preferment slain millions, as the serpent Scytale, which, when she cannot overtake the fleeing passengers, doth with her beautiful colors astonish and amaze them, so that they have no power to pass away till she have stung them to death. Adversity hath slain her 1,000, but prosperity her 10,000. And I also want to say, this is also what I want to say to you, is that the whole marketing machine runs by witchcraft. And it is every type of music in a commercial is very carefully chosen and contains specific sets of frequencies and packages of information that as soon as you watch that commercial, you are being contaminated by these frequencies and this specific package of information that goes directly into your system and creates strongholds. Because that package of information that is packaged in the whole commercial, combined with the frequencies of the well carefully chosen music, is related to a principality or a group of principalities. And by listening to it and watching the entire commercial, you at that moment are being linked to a specific group of principalities. What we also call demons, but they are principalities. So, and what are demons? They are actually the spirits of the fallen ones. So, what is called in the Bible the Nephilim. So, I want to say this to you because your eyes needs to be opened up about how this whole marketing machine works. Remedy 1. The first remedy at the greatest distance from sin. Wait a minute. Remedy 1. First, keep at the greatest distance from sin and from playing with the golden bait that Satan holds forth to catch you. Okay, I repeat this again. So the first remedy is keep at the greatest distance from sin and from playing with the golden bait that Satan holds forth to catch you. This starts with you. If you are a parent, you need to be constant, aware, and updated about all the moves that the enemy is doing. You need to inform yourselves about the dangers of the things that your child is watching at and consuming. And this is not only the things that the child sees on television, but also gets along from school, from friends, from others in its surroundings, other people's, no matter if it's family or friends, but also the food that you give your child, the way the child speaks, the vocabulary, because we have, well, I want to say that the majority of people have no idea that they that language, and especially the English language, and that is why they want to have English as the world language, because English is loaded with witchcraft, even more so than native languages. So So you need to be the role model in every area of your child's life. So that is why it is of importance to come back to the Father and to live your life in accordance with His laws, His 10 commandments. If you live by the 10 commandments of the Father, of all life and of universe of universes, and you teach your children this, and yes, it is difficult because eventually your child comes unto an age that it says, yeah, but my friend at school has this too. But then you need to be strong as a parent, stand firm, and say no. and constantly explain that what they do is not the the thermometer by which you have to live. So that you as a parent tell your child that what others do is not the thermometer of its own life, and what others do is what others do, and that's not what you do, because you are in God, you keep the commandments of God, and so it means that you do not do what others do. And that is a basic foundation that you have to teach your children. What others do is not what you do. You do what God wants you to do, because God has the best with you. And God has a perfect plan for you, although you don't see it yet, but He has it. He's already working on it. And He's already working through you and moving you step by step to unfold this plan that He has for you. Alright, I proceed. For this you have, in Romans 12 verse 9, it says, abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. When we meet with anything extremely evil and contrary to us, nature abhors it and retires as far as it can from it. The Greek word that is there rendered abhor is very significant. It signifies to hate it as hell itself, to hate it with horror. So everything that we see in this foolish paradise known as Babylon, we need to hate it, and we need to teach our children to hate it even more than we as parents do. Anselm used to say that if he should see the shame of sin on the one hand and the pains of hell on the other, and must of necessity choose one, he would rather be thrust into hell without sin than to go into heaven with sin. So great was his hatred and detestation of sin. It is our wisest and our safest course to stand at the farthest distance from sin, not to go near the house of the harlot, but to fly from all appearance of evil. Proverbs 5 verse 8 and 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 22. So the best course to prevent falling into the pit is to keep at the greatest distance. He that will be so bold as to attempt to dance upon the brink of the pit may find by woeful experience that it is a righteous thing with God that he should fall into the pit. Joseph keeps at a distance from sin and from playing with Satan's golden baits and stands. David draws near and plays with the bait and falls and swallows bait and hook with a witness. David comes near the snare and is taken in it, to the breaking of his bones, the wounding of his conscience, and the loss of his God. Sin is a plague. This is the bubonic plague, so to speak. That is sin. This is the bubonic plague that has been covered over the world, that has this world in its cover. This whole bubonic plague that we had in the Middle Ages, that was actually a mirror of the real bubonic plague that is called sin. Ye, the greatest and most infectious plague in the world, and yet How few are there that tremble at it, that keep at a distance from it. 1 Corinthians 5 verse 6. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? So a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of sin corrupts your body and corrupts your soul. So it doesn't matter. Most people, and that is the saddest part of it all, is that so many of God's beautiful children do not see what sin is and have no clue that they are on daily basis doing sin on daily basis, because they have accustomed to take everything as, oh, that is life, that is part of life. Oh yeah, but if you do this, that is okay. That's not sin. So many do not know what sin is, because sin has been over the generations have become actually something, normal, so to speak. So it is so normalized that people, God's children, do not see any harm nor danger in it, because it's so normalized. And they do not see it as sin anymore. That's the whole sadness of it. As soon as one sin had seized upon Adam's heart, all sin entered into his soul and overspread it. How hath Adam's one sin spread over all mankind? Romans 5 verse 12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. How doth the father's sin infect the child, the husband's infect the wife, the master's the servant? The sin that is in one man's heart is able to infect a whole world. Yes, because it's been passed on to the next generation. All that has been done in the mother line and in the father line is being passed on to the child, and so the child is passing it on to his children. It is of such a spreading and infectious nature. So that is what I said before. The real bubonic plague, the real pandemic, is sin, not some bonehead virus. It is sin. That is the plague. That is the real pandemic. And that is the real pandemic of this world. Sin. Sin that has been normalized and has been taken as normal from generation unto generation, and has been passed on to the next generation. Because all these youngsters nowadays are loaded with sin. They start their own family and pass on their sins of themselves, of their parents, of their grandparents, and so of their ancestors onto their children. And these, on their turn, pass it on their children. So that is why it is infectious. This is the real plague, the real pandemic that this world is in. But of course, the one who knows, the descendants of the fallen ones, they know this, but they do everything to lure you away from that truth. And so they make you believe that there is a horrible virus that kills a lot of people. But as a matter of fact, the real killer of this world is sin. And sin has killed a lot of God's beautiful children. A lot of them. And we see it on daily basis. Look at the entertainment industry and all those people who work in it. They are dying slowly due to all the sin that they are participating in. And the pleasures and the false promises and so on, and the fake life that Satan has promised them that they are living. And look at your own family, look around you. The majority of God's children are slowly dying from the worst disease in entire human history, called sin. The story of the Italian who first made his enemy deny God and then stabbed him, and so at once murdered both body and soul, declares the perfect malignity of sin. Because that is exactly what sin is. That is why I'm saying, look around you. Look around your beautiful fellow brothers and sisters whom are dying slowly because of the fact that they are doing sin. And do not see it as such. But eventually, what happens is that they are dying literally. Not only their body is dying, but their soul is dying. Sin kills both. Declares the perfect malignity of sin, and that what have been spoken upon this head may prevail with you, to stand at a distance from sin. And this is one of the main reasons why the Father has led me to this book study from Thomas Brooks. I never heard of this study, and he led me to it because the Father finds this information very important. And I highly recommend you to buy this book yourselves. Now it still is available. Precious Remedies Against Satan's Devices, written by Thomas Brooks. It is a very well and very good in-depth study. And learn from it. There's a lot in it. I learned so much since I go through this. Remedy 2 against this device is to consider that sin is but a bittersweet. And that is why you see that everything in our world is wrapped in this bubble paper of candy sweetness. And you now can literally see it. If I walk through the shopping mall or the streets with with shops who sell clothes, oh wow. If I look at the colors of the clothes these days, it is all sugar sweet. It's as if you are wearing candy at your body, as if you have wrapped your body into candy. Look in the windows of the shops and look at the clothes for male and females. First and foremost, it is so degraded into unisex because this beast system wants to have everyone look the same. There's no difference anymore. And look at the shop windows. Everything is soulless. Everything has turned into evilness. What I see is literally evil exposed in a candy colored paper wrap. A candy colored ribbon. There is it has no sparkling of life whatsoever in it. And I know that good quality clothes can sparkle life, especially if it's really made good and made from good materials such as wool and linen. So what we now see is that this whole world is now turned into fake sweetness. This is done to you can say that this world and everyone that is in it, they try, the witches and the workers of iniquities are trying to oversauce God's children with a sauce of fake sweetness that looks sweet and tasty and delicious, but it's actually very bitter. Very bitter. I continue, that seeming sweet that is in sin will quickly vanish, and lasting shame, sorrow, horror, and terror will come in the room thereof. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it, and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned. It is the gall of asps within him. Job 20, verse 12 to 14. Forbidden profits and pleasures are most pleasing to vain God's children, to vain man, who count madness mirth, mirth. Many long to be meddling with the murdering morsels of sin. Yeah, because that is what sin also is. It's a morsel that is coming onto your skin. And if you have been bitten by a morsel, then you know how painful that is. Which nourish not, but rend and consume the belly, the soul that receives them. Many eat that on earth, that they digest in hell. Since murdering morsels will deceive those that devour them. And I think morsels, we also have mosquitoes, and I think mosquitoes have the same effect as morsels do. Adam's apple was a bitter sweet. Interesting. Adam's apple, that thing in the throat area, was a bitter sweet. Esau's mess was a bitter sweet. The Israelites' quails, a bitter sweet. Jonathan's honey, a bitter sweet. And Adoniah's dainties, a bitter sweet. after the meal is ended, then comes the reckoning. Man must not think to dance and dine with the devil, and then to sup with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, to feed upon the poison of asps, and yet that the viper's tongue should not slay them. When the asp stings a man, it doth first tickle him, so as it makes him laugh, till the poison by little and little gets to the heart, and then it pains him more than ever it delighted him. So doth sin. It may please a little at first, but it will pain the soul with a witness at last. Yea, if there were the least real delight in sin, there could be no perfect hell, where men shall most perfectly be tormented with their sin. And remedy 3 against this device is solemnly to consider that sin will usher in the greatest and the saddest losses that can be upon our souls. It will usher in the loss of that divine favor that is better than life, and the loss of that joy that is unspeakable and full of glory, and the loss of that peace that passeth understanding, and the loss of those divine influences by which the soul hath been refreshed, quickened, raised, strengthened, and gladded, and the loss of many outward desirable mercies which otherwise the soul might have enjoyed. It was a sound and savory reply of an English captain at the loss of Calais, when a proud Frenchman scornfully demanded, "When will you fetch Calais again?" replied, "When your sins shall weigh down ours." Ah, England! My constant prayer for thee is that thou mayest not sin away thy mercies into their hands that cannot call mercy mercy, and that would joy in nothing more than to see thy sorrow and misery, and to see that hand to make thee naked, that hath clothed thee with much mercy and glory. So the fourth remedy against this device of Satan is seriously to consider that sin is of a very deceitful and bewitching nature. Well, thank you so much. I get confirmation here from all the things that I have spoken of so far. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Sin is from the greatest deceiver. It is a child of his own begetting. It is the ground of all the deceit in the world, and it is in its own nature exceeding deceitful. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Hebrews 3, verse 13. It will kiss the soul and pretend fair to the soul, and yet betray the soul forever. It will with Delilah smile upon us, that it may betray us into the hands of the devil, as she did Samson into the hands of the Philistines. Sin gives Satan a power over us and an advantage to accuse us and to lay claim to us as those that wear his badge. It is of a very bewitching nature. It bewitches the soul where it is upon the throne, that the soul cannot leave it, though it perish eternally by it. Sin so bewitches the soul that it makes the soul call evil good and good evil, bitter sweet and sweet bitter, light darkness and darkness light, and a soul thus bewitched with sin will stand it out to the death, at the sword's point with the living God. Let the living God strike and wound and cut to the very bone. Yet the bewitched soul cares not, fears not. And this is exactly what we see in the body of politics. They don't have any fear. They don't have any care about us. They don't care because their soul is already so bewitched and has become so darkened. I continue. But will still hold on in a course of wickedness, as you may see in Pharaoh, Balaam, and Judas. Tell the bewitched soul that sin is a viper that will certainly kill when it is not killed, that sin often kills secretly, insensibly, eternally. Yet the bewitched soul cannot and will not cease from sin. When the physicians told Theotimus that except he did abstain from drunkenness and uncleanness, he would lose his eyes. His heart was so bewitched to his sins that he answered, "Then farewell, sweet light." He had rather lose his eyes than leave his sin. So a man bewitched with sin had rather lose God. And this is exactly what we see. That is what we call the Antichrist agendas. These are agendas run by people who have lost any connection with the living God, the creator of all life and of universes. And they are now playing out their wicked, sinful dreams. So a man bewitched with sin had rather lose God, Christ, heaven, and his soul than part with his sin. Oh, therefore, forever take heed of playing with or nibbling at Satan's golden baits. And with this said, I have come to the end of the first device. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.